What's going on, guys? Welcome back to Star Wars The High Republic Tales of Light and Life, The Queen's Bloom. Last time we read Chapter 3, and Axel, Cosmo, while they were working under the guise of the waiters and waitresses, they had to go steal a bunch of stuff for Alicia and the crew to hopefully get Laylee back, just to find out that Laylee was on the enemy side all along, and Axel had to help a wounded Cosmo back to the building, back to their dormitories as Cosmo got shot before they left. And when Axel returned to his dorm, he found his father waiting for him. So now it is time for the fourth and final chapter of this story. 4. Axel scanned the room, quite literally searching for an excuse. His father beat him to the punch. In his fingers was a tiny green stem, a Guiji pepper remnant. Always throw away evidence, he noted. I want you to be very careful before you lie to me. Axel sat in front of his father, his back straight. You wouldn't believe me if I told you the truth. Perhaps you should let me decide that. I was young once, Lexier chuckled, and then sobered as he took the green pollen staining Axel's clothes. Though the shimmer had faded on the drive back, did he recognize the uniform from the party? Axel decided he would not put his honest senator father in the position of having to deal with the arena security officials. I made a mistake today. Axel rubbed the back of his neck. Why did he ache everywhere? A friend and I fell out. Your nemesis, that fellow from Loserlight? Axel snorted. Of course his father remembered that. No, it turns out we're friends now, I think. Lexier combed his fingers through his short wavy hair, silver threads peppering the inky black. Sometimes I forget university can be as bad as the Senate chamber. I'm sorry, Axel said, and for the first time that day he admitted something he hadn't been able to say out loud. I don't always feel like I should be here. Like I should be doing something useful instead of giving Dean Hockett high blood pressure. I don't know. He cut himself off because he thought of Laylee's parting words. I feel like no matter what I do, I'll never be able to measure up to whatever it means to be a Greylark. I'm not like you. I'm not like Mother. Lexier watched him for a long, quiet moment. I'm the one who should be sorry, Axel. Your mother and I have chosen a life of service. But we never meant for it to become a burden to you. I only want you to be who you have always been. Axel Greylark, my son. Even if I don't apprentice with you next year? Lexier laughed and eased back into the lounge chair. That you have to take up with your mother. Am I in trouble? Since you've made a miraculous recovery, you have approximately 10 minutes before you are to join your mother and me at the fairgrounds, Lexier said, waving his hands like he was witness to his son's deception. Or like he was not witness to his son's deception. I'd use that time to shower. Thank you, father. Axel bowed his head in deference. Lexier rested a hand on his son's shoulder. Remember this, Axel. I will always be proud of you. No matter what had occurred that day, Axel had the unquestionable certainty that his father had faith in him. As he watched the tumult of the day off his skin, he decided that Laylee was wrong. Two of them were nothing alike. He'd try to do a little bit better. He'd beat Cosmo in their studies. He'd apprentice with his father and follow him to negotiate in war zones. He'd be a Greylark. He'd try to understand what it meant to be a Greylark, both for himself and for the galaxy. Dressed in a new suit, hair still damp, he raced through the corridors of his university to meet his parents. He saw them, side by side on the green, admiring the fading bioluminescence that kissed everything it touched. He hurried to join them. Axel Greylark was on his way. And that is the conclusion of The Queen's Bloom. Yes, the last chapter is very short. It is a very short chapter. The previous chapter is significantly longer. But that is the conclusion That's story number 1. If you enjoyed, pick up Star Wars: The High Republic, Tales of Light and Life by all these authors. This story was written by Zoraida Cordova. She's a pretty awesome author. I've read a couple books by her from Star Wars now, and I highly recommend. If you are interested in Star Wars and are trying to do something outside of the movies, like try to get into the extended universe, The High Republic is something I definitely recommend, because it's like completely separate from everything else. It's super far before, and it's kind of neat seeing stuff beforehand. And this is back when the Jedi ruled over, the Sith were gone. This is during that millennium of absence that Ki-Adi-Mundi talks about in The Phantom Menace. And some of the Jedi in here are really cool so far. I've read the entirety of Phase 2, and everything, no matter the age demographic, whether it is a children's book, like a children's picture book, all the way up to full-on novels for adults. I've read everything, and it's a pretty darn good story. I highly recommend reading through this story as well. I'll be going through it on the channel. But next up, after this, starting next week, is going to be Tales of Enlightenment: New Prospects. That is an even shorter story that's only split up into 2 parts. That's going to be the next couple of weeks. So, thank you everybody for watching. Catch you guys in the next one. Goodbye.